So the first thing that you do when you open up Photoshop, the very first time you open it, I want you to go to the edit menu into the general tab, get preferences, and you can muck around with all these different options. Like, what I want you to concentrate on the performance tab. Now I already changed these, but originally Photoshop assigns automatically as a default the C drive, which is the same C drive where obviously if you gonna install Photoshop, the location C drive, and in C drive, if you put the scratch disk there to be in the same area, designated in the same spot, it will hinder Photoshop performance. So it's always best to put it on a different drive than where the software is installed. The point that I want to raise here is with your history palettes or your history steps is usually as a default is 20, but I put them around 200 depending on what I'm doing. If I'm doing concept drawings, I need probably about 200 steps just to cover myself. But this, if you're going to be doing some actions, like you have a lot of images that you gotta redo, save, composed, and whatever you're going to do, minimize these steps, because then this will make the performance a little bit faster. But then vice versa, if you're doing concept or you need to do a lot of things that you might refer back to, come back here and change it again. So that's it for that. So let's start by looking at the first section here, which is your, I call it the selection tool. If you press F7 and we duplicate the layer by just simply dragging like I just did then, or by selecting that layer and pressing Ctrl or Function J, it will give you another duplicate. Or you can just simply unlock the layer before you do any editing. So select that layer, and just so we can have a look around what these tools do, we just have a generic move around. Obviously that was your move tool. And do you see how when you hover the mouse over, it gives you, Photoshop will give you automatically the name of the tool, and on the right hand side in the brackets is a shortcut to the keyboard, so you just press Y or G for gradient, so on so on. So we'll go back up top, and if you hold down shift, it can give you a multiple selection of this particular tool. Obviously you can do oval, circles, and you can move in as well. If you go back to the circle tool and you hold down the Alt or the Option key on the Macintosh, it takes away the selections. There's a number of ways that you can do selections in Photoshop. Same thing that you can do with obviously the marquee tools. You can do it with the lasso, and you can also do it with just a quick selection tool. Or you can do a bit more precise by doing the pen tool, using your path. Later on in my tutorials I will show you how to do the selection tool with your filters, and obviously using the mask as well. But selection in editing is one of the most important things that you need to know in Photoshop to get around. Obviously the lasso, we just select stuff randomly. That will do Strat H, etc. Magnetic lasso will pick up, it goes by the pixels, the closest pixels to what it thinks it should be, but then again, just have a few muck around with them and see how you go. This quick selection tool, I don't mind it, but it's not very precise. But like any other tool that you have here, you have the option to manipulate the tolerance, the pressure, and so on. We press Ctrl D or Command D in the Macintosh, and the slice tool, we use that tool to do, like if you do a splash and you create a website, you cut that and you export it, say for web devices, that'll give you the cutting slice, and you can import them into Dreamweaver. The eyedropper, it selects to the foreground here, it changes the color as it goes through, and we just hide the extras there. And obviously the ruler got a pretty cool trick that if you got a camera shot that's not really horizontal, all you have to do is just say, for example, measure the horizontal line and say that that's out of, say if it is like that, I don't know, it's not accurate, but once you do that and just hit straighten, and automatically it should straighten it. But if we could press Control or Command on the Macintosh, Control R, it gives you the guides that you should always be working with. And the beautiful thing about Photoshop is the history palette. This is what I'm saying before when it said to you that the first thing you got to do is have a look at the preference menu, which is under Edit, Preference, General, or Control K or Command K. It remembers every little step that you do. Very handy. That your spot healing tooling brush. Show you what it does. That there basically picks some pixels based around your area, and in here you gotta click the alter. You gotta tell the target where, from which sample you want to take your pixels from. Pretty cool tools. Oh, so for example, you just want to do this little bit here, grab it over there, and Photoshop just calculates it and works it all out. That looks about right. Obviously, for some, say for example, if that was a person, we haven't got a person right now with a red eye, but the brush tools. This is pretty cool. Now, you can either just pick the brush tool, or if you want to enable the airbrush, you gotta make sure it's enabled by pressing this icon up here. You can do anything you want. You can spray paint. You can take samples, whatever, retouching. Pencil tool, of course. Color replacement tool is pretty cool. You just grab, holding down the Option Alter key, grab the sample of the area of the color that you want to grab, and really using the color replacement tool you can do this. Now the paintbrush mixer. It actually works like a real actual paintbrush. Clone tool, and say you just want to start doing this. By all means, this is where the fun begins, I guess. It's a very cool tool. Play with it, experiment by yourself, see how you go. Implements patterns, which you can make yourself, or you can just grab from the default ones. And your history brush. Obviously, if the image hasn't been that much damage, it will reverb everything that you just done. If the image is like kept with a single layer, you haven't done any effect or anything like that, the history brush will not work. The eraser tool obviously erases things. Actually, I'll jump to a different picture to show you the background.